It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! And you hear me got off to a rough start on the Feedback Friday song this week. Ooh, I am getting my ass kicked by allergies. I phoned my doctor to get refills on prescriptions. Shit, man. Last 2 days, just brutal. Like, I didn't have enough to deal with. Okay, so we're going to focus on the male power fantasy comments because that alone, there weren't a ton of them, but the ones that, like, compared to the views, but the ones that were commented on were really high quality. So that's cool. I also got a bunch of new spam with Chinese characters, thanks, I'm sure, to the video I did on what's going on in China and then modern audiences. So yeah, we're just gonna, report all of that. And fuck, I fucking hate the internet in those ways, right? Just straight up bully tactics. Anyway, if you like my content like this, even though it's a fucking pain in the ass in this way, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K. I admit I'm really happy that the whole male power fantasy thing didn't just go to shit. Cause in terms of comments, because I think that it's an important thing to talk about. And people went in a lot of different directions in the comments. Quite a few women say, I enjoy male power fantasy tropes because I'm a human being and I can enjoy men and women being awesome. And I'm in that boat myself. I feel that. I know that feel. And this is why this stuff perplexes me. Now there were some comments to sort of address that, which were good because this is a dialogue. One person pointed out that people wanting power to do good does not typically turn out well. In fact, you might say the worst kinds of tyranny are the ones motivated by benevolence, from communism to the Inquisition. The Rookie, of all shows, did a really good arc on noble cause corruption. So, yes, that's true. I do think that one can use the limited power you have for good instead of evil. Which, another commenter said, power fantasies are good in the right hands when it caters to adults who understand the tightrope of wielding power for the good of all. The problem is we get game developers who channel Michael Bay and create characters who would insult an 8th grader's intelligence. See Duke Nukem. That is the male power fantasy, the meathead overdosed on testosterone that all of us can do without. It's funny about Duke Nukem because I always saw Duke Nukem as kind of a parody of the 80s meathead action star and wasn't intended to be taken seriously or literally, and then that kind of character was everywhere. And I mean, I personally think the Doom Marine in Doom Eternal is sort of a parody of that and like a lot of heavy metal tropes. So even that can be used intelligently. Just, yes, not by Michael Bay, right? One person said that you never had power over females or males. Haha, if I was a woman with your appearance, I would be ruling half the world before my 20s and would have money to influence the politics of the other half. Haha. That's not how the world works. If you have intelligence and you are female, now I was not considered attractive growing up. Didn't look much different. If you look at pictures of me from, about the 7th grade onward, it didn't look much different, but I was not considered cool and attractive. That stuff's highly subjective. But this doesn't factor in how, first of all, school is fucking horrible. And it's the whole crabs in the bucket phenomenon. Every time somebody tries to rise, the other people pull them back down. That has been very much my experience my entire life. You want to do good things. You want to do good things that don't hurt anybody else. There's always someone looking to destroy you. And unfortunately, the minute you get seen as an attractive woman, which is still weird to me, I'm not kidding, because for so many years I was the ugly fat one. And then all of a sudden I was the dumb slut. And that's what happens. The minute you're remotely attractive, people assume you're dumb and mean. And not being dumb and mean just makes them hate you more. Literally the devil, remember? So just putting that out there. One person said, you mentioned that on Superman and Lois was better at dealing with her son's mental problems than Clark was, seeing it as a kind of female power fantasy, which makes a distinction between typically male and female power fantasies. Male power fantasies typically involve physical power. The hero is combat capable, can work gadgets or spells that make him combat capable. This can be skill or superhuman power, but pretty consistently male heroes in escapist fiction can handle themselves in a fight. I would say that typical female power fantasies tend to involve softer power. Jessica Fletcher and Miss Marple are two very popular examples. I love that this comment went there. The woman is smart, highly observant, and has exceptional emotional intelligence, allowing her to solve seemingly intractable people problems. She might be combat capable, but that's not at the core of how she solves problems. You can see this tendency as private detective mysteries. The original male heroes are almost exceptional fighters, but the women rely on a lot less on brute force. I'm not sure how much this is nature, nurture, or plausibility. It's not absolute. There are plenty of female action heroes in Columbo and some version of Doctor Who follow a more feminine power fantasy, but it's interesting that both Buffy Summers and Wonder Woman are male creations. And that I will add that Hercule Poirot was Agatha Christie's creation, and he's the exception to that. He was the little Belgian. The commenter finishes off, oddly, Joss Whedon's idea of a female power fantasy, a physically powerful, combat-capable action woman, came to dominate the pop culture notion of a female hero. I wonder if there's an opportunity for artists who appealed to more old-school female power fantasies. That's kind of what I was trying to do with Boss Fight, but I will add to the Joss Whedon thing, they weren't just combat-capable action women. They had to be combat-capable action women who were like size 2s and had skinny little arms and skinny little necks. And I have never been a fan. It's funny. I liked the first Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie as a thing of camp. The minute it got into this series, I was bothered just by the fact that the amount of force you need to use to manually drive a stake through someone's sternum doesn't come from little twig arms. That pisses me off about Joss Whedon stuff from the beginning. And people used to fight with me with it. Other women who considered the stuff feminist used to fight me on that. I was in the wilderness for so long. That's part of the reason that certain groups hate me. They don't remember why they hate me. They just remember they hate me because I was one of the people going, that's not feminist, what Joss Whedon's doing. That's a Russ Meyer movie with no fucking boobs. People got really mad at me when I said that. It is, I'll leave it there. I start ranting about Joss Whedon, it will not stop. I will move on to another comment because this was actually really good too. The female power fantasy of being plain and ordinary and having a man fall in love with them is not new, and your description is incomplete. I love comments like this. The man in the fantasy not only needs to be attractive, but they must also possess wealth and power in some form or another, and they must be dangerous. The power in the fantasy originates from taming the dangerous and sexy psychopath. This fantasy hasn't suddenly become popular. It has been the basis of romance novels marketed towards women for decades. That is literally the basis of 99 out of 100 Harlequin romance novels ever written. This commenter is not wrong, though it shifted in the Twilight era. In Twilight, Edward Cullen himself was not dangerous, but Bella's association with him ended up getting the shit beat out of her every fucking book, and then she ends up in a high-risk pregnancy, and she carries the child, she keeps her baby, and it's terrible. And you're right, commenter. I don't like romance tropes for that reason. I think a lot of romantic tropes, now let's face it, they all borrow from Jane Austen, and that's not understanding Austinian fiction, because Austinian fiction was scathing social commentary about what social roles forced women to do. It was satire that gets interpreted as romance. As far as I'm concerned, the only person who has done Jane Austen justice in in adaptation is Emma Thompson. I will watch her Austen. I will not watch anyone else's Austen because Austen is like hot pins in my eyes. Not because it's not well crafted, but the fact that these things Austen was saying, what was going, this all sucks, but yay, happy ending, so people will actually publish my book. That's become romantic tropes. That's become, and Austen's whole point was this is what women are supposed to want. Why are we supposed to want it? If you look into the biography of Jane Austen, there will be some clues into why she may have had an outsider's perspective on this. But yeah, I have a real issue with the sexy psychopath. Now that we've got Harley Quinn and characters like that, it's not just with women. I have never understood why dangerous and sexy are tied together. Like, dangerous, not, ooh, this is somebody who's defying a terrible law. They are risking themselves. Not that, just somebody who's a really bad person. It's that a little love, they'll change thing. And that is such a dangerous thing, that thing that you can save somebody. And personally, I think that comes from people inside. It's what we talked about with Boss Fight, that a lot of fantasies are not necessarily, they aren't as neat as gendered role fantasies may seem on the surface. That I think a lot of these fantasies are not necessarily what someone would like to do, so much as it's what someone would like to have done for them. I think we've all had times where we want to be loved as whole people. And a lot of people have such terrible self-esteem that they see their relatively small faults as horrible things, right? So it comes out in fantasy. People want to be loved and cared for. I don't like this despite their faults idea. Because in some ways, certain faults mean people should not be subjected to you. Other faults are not actually faults. They're just quirks, right? They're just quirks. And unfortunately, messages are sent to too many people that if you have any quirks whatsoever, you have to change and perfect before anyone will give you the time of day romantically. I was always told basically that I had to shut up and dumb down because people couldn't understand what I was saying because the words I used were too big and I was too forcefully opinionated when I spoke. Now, the problem is that, what traditions was I educated in? Well, all the authors I read, all the, academics I read. I started reading academic stuff at a very young age, but it was all, I didn't read a lot of girl books. I liked Sherlock Holmes and even stuff like Mark Twain. Got into Hemingway before I realized, whoo, this is pretty toxic. But everything I read was masculine. And so accordingly, the way I wrote and the way I spoke was in that tradition, and I was told it was too aggressive. Of course, these are great works of literature. Hemingway was never told he was too aggressive. Well, maybe he was, but you know what I mean? And that was when I first realized how messed up all this stuff is. That people are individuals and you can either take what someone likes, whether it be books or games or anime or anything like that. You can take what they like. I realized my antihistamine box is here. And use it as a way to connect with them. Why do you like this? Tell me why you like this. You can even go, oh, wow, that's not my thing. Really not my thing. But why do you like it? I love doing that. I love hearing why people like the stuff they like. Um, or you can shame them for it and make it immediately bad. And what's the difference between the two things? Well, one makes a person hopefully open up. The other is guaranteed to make a person shut down. And the weird thing is that I first learned this in peer-to-peer youth work. I don't know why they called it peer-to-peer, because it was always, I was in like 11th grade and tutoring like a ninth grader. But it wasn't just the schoolwork. The idea was, if they started talking to you, it gave them a little bit of life advice with that whole whopping 2 years of extra life experience, right? But one of the things we did, because these were students, at least in my case, that I got paired with, who weren't submitting anything. They were showing up to school sometimes. They were living in group homes or foster homes, which are not great environments. But they'd show up, but they wouldn't hand anything in. And the teachers would be like, I just need something to grade. Anything. I have to see what level this kid's skills are at, and I don't have anything. And so the first goal was to just get the kid writing anything. I remember this one girl, we wrote an essay on why school sucks, and she kept looking at me. And I was like, write it down. What you just said, write it down. And she kept looking at me like it was some kind of trick. And we wrote 2 pages on why school sucks, and she handed it in. And I think she actually got a B on that assignment. The teacher was just so happy. And you know what? Her writing wasn't bad. But, if there's somebody who is really super stoked about anime, and that's a similar thing that they're just figuring out. We're talking about, a 14-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl here. But 15-year-old boys, 14-year-old boys, they're just starting to figure out who they are, separating from their parents. Those years are really precious, and, that's why those tend to be the boy band years for girls. But boys stuff gets a little more vilified. Girl stuff is dismissed as crap. Which sucks, because those boy band guys, they work their asses off. I used to interview them back in my music programming days, and those dudes worked their butts off. And most of them were really nice guys. The nicest guys were always the guys that weren't like the heartthrob. The like backup guys, they were always super, super nice. But, and then you get a group like BTS that is just on another level. But that's why I admit, I'm open about, I really like BTS, because those guys have to work hard to do that. And then it's dismissed as crap for girls, right? I'm glad that the greater music industry is embracing BTS in a way that previous boy bands maybe weren't, because of that fact that, at least Chris Martin and Megan Thee Stallion are going, who are you calling this crap? Right? That's more Megan Thee Stallion as opposed to Chris Martin from Coldplay, but right. Whereas boy stuff tends to get vilified. This happened to be all the stuff I liked. Dungeons and Dragons and video games and all that stuff. So it's dangerous and scary instead of shitty and disposable, right? Are either of these things better? No, they compound the self-esteem issues of early formation adults, because kids at that age, they're still coming out of that. They can't quite distinguish between the thing you like is shitty and forgettable or the thing you like is evil and dangerous. It's you're shitty and forgettable or you're evil and dangerous. And I don't know why we do this to 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. It is so just wrong. And people carry the scars of that into adulthood. And I have some theories about that's why, like, nobody can work together on anything anymore because these identity issues that are supposed to, they're supposed to start settling in your 20s. They're not. They're people are having the identity who am I issues in their 20s that we had in our teens. And the thing about that that's different is in your teens, you're in a more protected environment than when you're in your 20s. I mean, figuring out who you are when, all things going well, you're still living at home, your parents are looking out for you, people are paying your bills. And when you're figuring out who you are when, you've got college debt and now have to go out to find a job, that's disastrous. And there are a lot of reasons why that's so, but that's a topic for Wellness Wednesday. I just see so many people, and I mean, I had to basically realize that I did not fit in. I was not going to fit in. I was a very weird child very early. I had to get comfortable with that, as comfortable as you can get with it very early. It became part of my identity that I was weird, right? And I think that's why I went into performing, entertaining people, because I was thinking, well, I can go be some weird nerd in a science lab and probably be okay at it. Maybe not the greatest. I don't think I would ever have been an exceptional scientist. But who knows? But as an entertainer, I can create stuff that at least can pull people back from the brink on things and give people a sense of belonging, even temporarily. And I've realized of late how much people want to tear down anything that gives people a sense of belonging. Building community is very, very hard in the age of cancel culture and culture war. And I understand why some of these communities become very high tension and very, say the right things or else, because they're so afraid of being infiltrated by people who just want to destroy because it's something that makes people happy that can be destroyed. So what we have to find a way to do is to have a healthy amount of dissent in these communities without it, without it overheating or without allowing too much bad faith in with that dissent. Does that make sense? Because I'm so sick of these paradigms. I do feel like they're starting to erode. My concern is that they didn't erode quickly enough to get action-driven media with female leads. And so the action-driven media with female leads either didn't do well financially, Alita Battle Angel, or did extremely well financially, but wasn't very well constructed, Captain Marvel. I hope not. I hope that we can get more, even good sidekick characters like Katie, Awkwafina's character in Shang-Chi. Can we please have more of that? Because there's an example of a character. It's not romantic, but that's okay. We need characters that people like that aren't necessarily attached to a relationship. Now, I would like to see some of those cool Marvel sidekicks have lives. That'd be nice. But somebody like Darcy, what's her name? Blanking on the actress's name, but the actress in Thor that called Mjolnir Meow Meow, she's not plain and ordinary. She's got a sparkly personality. She stands out because she's funny. Aquafina in everything is not ordinary. She's awkward and funny and exceptional in that way. She has a personality. And these women defy the plain and ordinary female power fantasy. That these are women who stand out. And this is why I'd like to see them actually be something more than just a platonic sidekick. Only we have to think very hard about this so we don't step into other territory that's less innovative. But I would love to see a movie where somebody like Aquafina or Darcy from Thor, the Kat Denning, I think that's her name, but or like even somebody like Catherine, what's her name? Agatha Harkness from WandaVision, somebody like that who just stands out. I'd love to see more stories where somebody like that, I mean, okay, Agatha did some not very good things, but you know what I mean? Just characters who draw attention to themselves because of their personalities. I would love to see that be the lead instead of just the manic pixie dream girl shit, and actually tell stories about guys or other girls or non-binary people or something that are interested in these girls because they are unique and different and are not afraid to be themselves, instead of this. I found a lot of Free Guy very funny, but the gamer girl game dev muse that didn't seem to do anything in the game she helped develop, but she really likes coffee with, 2 cream and 3 sugars, and really likes bubblegum ice cream. And so this guy falls madly in love with her and makes a whole game. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, liking bubblegum ice cream and, coffee, taking your coffee a certain way does not give you inherent worth. What is it about this girl? Oh, she plays video games all fucking day and ignores the dude who likes her. Why does this make her worthy of undying love? It's like a new plain and ordinary thing, right? I fucking hate this trope. Can we please have women who are not like, you don't have to be super exceptional. Like, you don't have to cure friggin' cancer, right? But at least be interesting. At least have some edges to your personality. The only time women get to do that are when they are the platonic sidekick, or whether they are a villain, when they are a villain. And I am so fucking sick of that. I am so sick of that. If people wanted to make interesting video game characters, like, hey, there's an opportunity right there. But you can't create a funny, lovable, human character when you're overthinking it. When you're, we must make a statement about womanhood and manhood. No, just make a character. Just make a character. Just a character. And guess what? The first thing people are going to do, I learned this with Boss Fight, they're going to go, that's cringe. Because people aren't used to main characters with personalities. Especially not women, but men as well. They got to be square-jawed. I mean, the Yakuza games did a lot to start breaking that. Good for them. But they're going to go, that's cringe. That's annoying. That's stupid. And then they're slowly going to want these characters back because they are characters. The problem with Hollywood and game development and all that stuff is you playtest and you focus group and you never get past the that's cringe reaction, because immediately you get that. It's like, take it out. Take it out. Nope. Especially with women, because nope, this is a male audience in AAA games. Nope. Can't have a woman they find annoying. Give it fucking time, man. Give it time. Give the character an arc. People got to be less scared. But, I get it. when everything male is demonized. So, what do you guys want to talk about next week? Do we want to expand on this? Do we want to go in a different direction? Let me know. Your wish is my command. You have the power. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.